everyone, welcome back to another round of Turing Mock Interview series. I'm Jose, a tech lead at Turing, and I am from Montreal, Canada. And at Turing, I work, help them hire the best engineers, help with the vetting process. And I have more than 17 years of experience, and my expertise lies in JavaScript. And today we come with the second part of the JavaScript interview. I'll be interviewing Lau for an experienced JavaScript developer. Okay, this is the part 2. If you haven't seen the part 1, I will put the link down in the description section below. You can go there and watch, and then come back to this video, or you can watch this video and go there after. Okay, so hi Lau, how are you doing? And so let's move on, right? So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just had prepared for this interview. Let's see how it goes.
Oh, nice. Okay, so my first question for you is, so what's the difference, okay, between null and undefined? Okay, and how could we go about checking if one of these states, null and undefined?
Okay, for undefined, let's say you are trying to access a variable that is never declared. So if you are trying to access a particular variable in your code that, or let's say any object value that doesn't exist, and in that case, you will have the undefined, basically that represents the absence of that particular value, or that it doesn't exist. And for null, it can be assigned by the user, or let's say it's a primitive data type from JavaScript. So it always represents that it is set intentionally as null. So let's say if you are trying to set particular sort of data, and you are not it's a conditional statement, and if there is no data, you don't want to set anything there. So in that case, you would use null instead of undefined. So that will make sure that it is set to a null intentionally, and it is not left as undefined, which is unintentional.
Yeah, I think I got that. So what do you understand about hoisting in JavaScript?
I would say I have read that, but I don't recall at the moment. So I have read JavaScript hoisting somewhere, but I don't recall.
I will explain you. Okay, yeah. Hoisting happens in the first phase of JavaScript, which will get all variables that you use declaring var, or in every function that you used with the keyword function. And with variables, they will get that variable and put in the top of the next execution, okay? And they will assign the value undefined to it. So it doesn't matter if you create a function and create a var inside that function, that variable will become a global variable. JavaScript will put that in the top of the execution, the next execution, and assign the value undefined, okay? With function, it happens a little bit different, because JavaScript will get the whole function, okay, the signature of the function and also the body of the function, and put it at the top of the next execution. And that's why you create a function at the body of the page or at the bottom of the page, and then you can call that function inside the body. So because with functions, JavaScript will hoist the entire function. It's like create a function at the bottom, JavaScript you put it at the top, and then you execute that in the middle. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So no, that's okay. And this is fine, because I don't expect you to know everything. Okay, yeah. That's totally fine. Okay, yeah. So could you explain me how JSON-P works? And I mean, and how it's not really at Ajax, for example.
Okay, for JSON-P, I would say, let's say you have a script, and that is hosted somewhere, and that particular script needs to be executed, and after that you have some callback. So, but in particular, let's say whatever the for JSON-P scripts, you will have a query parameter which mentions a callback. So as soon as your particular JavaScript has been loaded, or whatever the initial operations needs to be made by that particular script is done, you will have that particular callback triggered, so that your you are using that JavaScript externally. in your system. So your system will come to know, and that particular callback will be triggered from your system, from your sort of code, so that you can come to know that this functionality has been loaded, or there has happened some issues, so that you can check if required. And if there is, I think I have used it for Facebook scripts or somewhere, which allows to trigger a callback as soon as that particular script is loaded, so that you will have idea that script is loaded. Now, if there is any operation needs to be done, you can just perform those operations. And like basically for Ajax calls, those are synchronous calls. So like when you insert a script tag, JSONP calls are like always asynchronous in nature. So like that's the first difference. And in Ajax calls, you will have some response coming back from your event handler. So let's say if you are calling you are making an Ajax call, you will have some response, either error or either data. But in this JSONP, you will have still the callback triggered, so that like you will come to know that if that particular callback has triggered with like you won't be knowing that callback has triggered with success state or false state. It will just trigger that particular callback as soon as the script loading and execution has been finished.
Got it. Yeah, got it. All right. So in talking about best practice, okay. So what tools could be used to ensure a consistent code style?
First, like different kind of JavaScript methods, like you can use keep it super simple case. Another is like you can use what was that? I forgot the acronym, but like those are the some sort of functionalities that you can use first to like avoid duplication or keeping the code super simple, so that your fellow developers can understand your code or whatever you have been writing in that particular function. Next is another one was dry, I guess. Yeah. Next is like you can use different kind of prettification tools to prettify your code, so that like your code looks readable. Any other developer or someone who is reviewing your PR or your code can understand with that particular formation. So like if everyone is using the same format, everyone will come to know that how the code has been written. You can use ESLint to analyze your code, like if you are having undeclared variables, if you are using a lot of console logs, if you are having, let's say, if you are using await for a function that is like that don't needs to be awaited. So like in that case, you can use ESLint, which can gives you some sort of warnings or indications, so that you can fix those kind of warnings. And apart from that, I would say you can use some pre-commit hooks that can be configured with Husky, so that you can just run some checks with prettier and ESLint, so that as soon as you're going to commit your code, it prettifies and make sure there are no linting warnings there, so that if there is any
yeah,
avoid
this is great, because sometimes people just don't care about indenting the code or anything else. So yeah, using these kind of hooks could prevent them to push this code on the code base. Yeah, that's great. That's great. All right. Okay.
Like people try to avoid them like while committing. They just comment out the pre-commit hook, or they might use like a different flags.
No, that's no verify. Yeah, I see people using that. Yeah. All right. So okay. So that's great. It should be approved. We should not be allowed to use -- no verify. And comment down below if you use -- no verify in your code, because sometimes I use that for sure. I use it, but I don't use it anymore. Okay. All right. So next question. So what do you understand by prototyping in JavaScript? Prototyping inheritance in JavaScript.
Prototyping, I would say you can create your functions as a prototype functions. For example, there is a function for array, which is going to be, you can create your prototype function by using the array.prototype, and like you can assign your own prototype function. So that function will be assigned to each and every array instances, so that you don't need to redeclare that particular function in another component or another file. If you are like using utility functions, that's fine, but this way you will have that particular function linked with that particular array instances, and all of the array instances will have that particular prototype function. So let's say just consider you have array of 5, you just want a function sum that just does a sum of all the array elements. You can create a prototype function. You can just call it with array.sum. It will just return you the value you are looking for.
Nice. And I'll give you an example that I used prototype, okay, like 15 years ago. I was creating JavaScript code for Internet Explorer, and I will never forget that. So I have to update the array JavaScript in the Internet Explorer prototype to use index of, because like 15 years ago, the JavaScript that runs inside the Internet Explorer doesn't contain index of. And then I was looking to that function. Firefox had that, Google Chrome had that, but Internet Explorer doesn't. We have to assign that using prototype.
Yeah, you need to manually prototype that particular function.
Yeah, and then it solved my problem. Okay. Next question. So how would you compare, okay, users of module pattern against constructor using prototype?
Okay, for constructor functions and prototypes that are like ways to implement the classes and instances. So let's say you are going to create instances of a particular class variable or like class. You are going to use like constructor functions to like initialize that particular class variables or whatever the methods you have. Next, like for module pattern, you will be using different kind of namespaces where like you will have single instance that will act as a store to group all the related functions or objects that are required for your execution. And like when you are like differentiating them, prototyping is good, but like if you need to like recheck each and every case, like if there are like you have array, but like you don't have what we say array of numbers at every time, and you don't you are not sure that it will be array of numbers every time. In that case, like prototyping can be good if it is numbers, but if it is containing strings, that will just sum up like it will just append all the data to that particular string, and you will have something that you are not expecting at that point. So prototyping is good if you are sure of your data, and like if you are not sure of the data what will be coming in, or you are not handling each use case. In that case, prototyping might be not the thing you are looking for.
Got it. Yeah, and also you can create another function and assign the prototype to for that function to another function, right? That's called prototype inheritance. So you will inherit all functions, methods, everything from that other function. Yeah, nice. Next question. So what's the difference between reference and value? Okay, and is JavaScript pass by reference or pass by value language?
Okay, so first of all, to answer your first question, like the value is whatever the value you are assigning to that particular variable, and reference is like JavaScript keeps a reference of like what that particular variable is stored at, or whatever the like pointer location for that particular value is. Now JavaScript is passed by value. So like whenever you are passing that particular value to a particular function, or let's say particular object, it is passed as an object value, sorry. So now let's consider if you are going to use an object, and like objects are basically mutable. So if you are going to like use those particular objects and pass it down to the function, and it will keep the reference for that particular object. And like if you are going to update that particular object's data inside like any other key, it will just update the whole object. So let's say if you are going to update a object with 10 keys there, and you are just updating one key, it will reflect there as well, because it is being passed as a reference there. But like if you consider JavaScript, it will still be passed as value. And like if you are like actually changing the value of that particular object, you will see that changes will not persist. It will just like for variables, if you are changing a global variables value inside a particular function, and like you are just exiting that function, those changes will not be remaining there anymore.
Nice, really cool. All right, and how to deep freeze an object in JavaScript?
For deep freezing,
yes,
I would say like you might have an object with like nested objects inside that.
Yeah.
So like if you are just going to freeze that particular object, it will be a shallow freeze. So the nested objects will not be freezed anymore. So to freeze all
Correct.
the objects, you will need to reiterate all the objects. Like you will need to create a recursive function which calls for all the keys which are considered as an object, so that it freezes all the data down the line, so that if you have nested objects, or let's say nested values inside nested objects, those all values will be freezed, and those cannot be overwritten anymore with deep freeze.
Okay, so let me see if I got that. So to deep freezing an object, you have to iterate over the object, over the keys, right? And then freezing all of them. And also, if that keys is an object, you have to do a recursive function to keep freezing. Is that correct?
Yes. So like you will keep reiterating as soon as like you have the type of type of that particular key is object. You will keep reiterating. As soon as like type of key is not not object, you will just stop there. You will move ahead to the next key you will have.
Okay, got it. I got it. Yeah, that is one way for sure. And in JavaScript, why is this operator inconsistent in JavaScript?
Okay, this operator, I have faced a lot of issues with that. I would just explain those.
Me too. Yeah.
Like for this operator, that is inconsistent, because let's say if you have a DOM event triggered, in that case, that this object will refer to that particular DOM node where that particular event has happened. Now let's consider if you have a particular function, you are calling that function with particular object. In that case, it will refer this as that particular object. And so basically it is not consistent, like what data it will contain. For DOM related operations, it might have DOM node, or let's say you have like parent and child events. In that case, you will still be confused, like which DOM node is being returned, like if it is for parent event, child event. And like if you are calling a function, or let's say if you are doing some operations while for those function calls, these might return to that particular object where you have instantiated that particular function. So let's say you have my object.xyz function call. In that case, this will refer to your object, that is like my object.
Nice. And
make
what is, yeah, it's a bit confusion. And then I have a follow-up question for you regarding this. Okay, what is the difference between you create a function or declare a function, use the keyword function, and arrow functions?
Okay, so the keyword functions needs to be bind with this operator, like this instance. So for arrow functions, you don't need to do those bindings. ES6 comes with like those bindings pre-done. If you are using arrow functions, those bindings are pre-configured for you. So you don't need to do .bind.this, which we usually do whenever we are calling that particular function, if that is written with function keyword.
All right, and what are the cons of use arrow functions?
Cons, I would say you won't be able to access this operator, I guess. And in that case,
yeah, something like that, because this operator will become, this will be who called the function. If you use arrow functions, it doesn't matter if you are in a class, but if you use arrow function, this will be the caller. Okay.
Yes.
And then it might be really confused sometimes. That's why we see people doing a workaround, and before create an arrow function, they create a new variable called underscore self, and then assign to this, and inside the arrow function use underscore self. Have you ever heard about this?
Yes, I have seen that. So that like that self function will allow them to access this operator inside their particular arrow functions.
Yeah, that's it. So now I would like you, okay, to compare async await, okay, and generators, okay. So how could we achieve the same functionality using async await and generators?
Okay, so basically I'll just explain both functionalities first, and then we can just go ahead and
sounds good.
Go ahead. So for generators, you will have your generator function, your yield keyword that allows you to get that particular particular value found, it will just trigger the yield function, and yield will handle that with its what we say, the next tick, or what is the next method they have. So let's say you have a API call, you have received the data, you will just yield those data, and the next callback you will have that will handle all the data. In async await, we will just await while the data comes in, and like whatever the data we have, I would say async await is just a simple functionality which we can directly use out of the box. For generators, you will need to understand how the generator function works, or let's say how the generator value needs to be yelled by that particular yield expression. And let's say if we want to use generators as async await, we will need to like yield the values whenever API call is completed, so that the next callback will trigger and you will have the data. Next steps are up to you. Like if you are using it with React app, you can just store the data or whatever the next operations you need to do. And like generator will have always a value with whatever the data is being written, and it will have a done field, which is just a boolean. So that will allow you to know if that particular operation has been finished or not. Whereas like async await will be kind of promises. So as soon as the await call has been finished, you will just retrieve the data. You won't have the next call or next what we say, next tick call again that will be made to that particular.
Yeah, generator will return an iterator. That's why you can also objects, a map, a set in JavaScript is also return iterator. So you can go over a map, go over a set using next, okay, and like we are talking about generators. Generators also use the symbol. Okay, symbols, it's a whole object in JavaScript. There's a lot of methods there. So if you don't know what symbol is, I recommend you to take a look at symbol, and then just search for symbol on Google. You see symbol is amazing too. Okay, so with this, we come to the end. So I would like to thank you all for this meeting. This was really nice to speak to you. So you were really a great developer. Okay, so I would pass you for sure for your next step at Turing, and I'll more than happy to help you to find a job. Okay, and to everybody else, thank you for turning in this mock interview series until the end, and I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. And we are going to be back very soon with new episodes. Okay, till then, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Like this video if you enjoy as much as I did. Comment down below with what more videos would like to see in the upcoming video, what more interview would like to see here. If you want to see practical tests as well. So till then, don't forget to subscribe, give us a like, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Go to community.turing.com. We have a lot of events running there, so you can attend those events. Okay, and that's it for today. Thank you all, and I hope to see you again. Okay.
Thank you, Jose. Looking forward to next steps. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.